Hello, you're welcome to Gist Arena. All we do is gist, and gist. We discuss topical, trending, and exciting topics, and we have fun while at it. We invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy each thrilling moment of gist, and gist. Hello, and welcome to Gist Arena. All we do is gist, and gist. I am Cynthia, and I am joined here today by my fellow gisters, Ayotunde and Adenike. And guess what? Again, we have another guest with us. This time around, he is a male. And this is the first time we are having a male gister here with us. He goes by the name Mr. Shijuade Akinyemi Eshinlokun. And by his own admission, he says he enjoys sweet conversation. And, I have no doubt we're going to have a wonderful time here today. We have a very interesting topic to discuss here. And this came about over, I believe, the previous week, where a man sent a DM to an Instagram account called Beyond Intimacy, and he wrote her with a particular, I think, situation that he had, and he wanted her to, ask her followers, and then, they can give their thoughts on it. So I'm going to be reading it so we can understand, in his own words, exactly what he said. Now, this came in phases, and we are going to be discussing it in phases. The story is in two parts. I'm going to read the first part, and then we're going to discuss on and gist about that before I bring the second part. So, he goes thus. I have been out of job for some time now, let's say 2 years. My wife has been running the family, and I think she's cheating because I don't know how a woman can pay school fees of two people, be wearing human hair, and fixing nails from a small business. So my instinct tells me that she is cheating, and she also renewed the house rent of 350,000 naira. The reason I'm writing you is that I can't tolerate cheating. So I questioned her as my wife, and she said I should leave the house, my own house. What can I do? So that was the situation that he put forward to this account. And so he's asked us, what can he do? So what do you think he should do? If you were to lend your voice, or if you're just going to put in one or two, what would you say about this particular situation? Would you ask him for the questions? What do you think based on what he has just said now? I'd like to hear from Mr. Shijuade. I'd like to hear from Adenike. I'd like to hear from Ayotunde. And then I definitely also have my own opinion, which I'll be saying, or, letting you know after my fellow gisters have given theirs.
Omo, this one be like say it tie rapper. Well, in this case, this man, I must say, his approach might not really have made sense, because if you feel that your wife is cheating on you because she could afford all those things that you might not have been able to afford, I think it would have been best for him to first of all have asked the wife, is there anything extra that she's doing that is not presently aware of, from which is making extra income or stuff like that. So if probably the wife is able to say anything, he will be able to know what exactly the wife is doing. Probably it could be something that his wife could even introduce him to, and then he will be able to also make the best use of that opportunity. Well, since the man has decided to go the other way by challenging the wife, confronting her, telling her that she's cheating, and the wife has said, "Oh, yeah, pack out of the house," I beg, may this man just pack in, look, JJ. Because with the way it's going, the thing may turn violent. It may finally lead to stories that touch. This man should go out of the house and then get himself a job. Let him go and fix himself. Because obviously what the woman is saying is, oh boy, go and fix yourself. So if he can be able to fix himself, more likely they could finally have a resolution. But if not, I think it's good to just fix himself and then get a new life. I think I beg this one you get as a beach, Harry.
You're welcome to Gist Arena, Mr. Shiju. It's nice to have you here with us, but I'm looking at you with Kana Haido. Your response made me laugh. That's a good one. Thank you to Cynthia. Okay, so let's get to the business of the day. You see, I read that man's post, and the response he got from the person he sent the post to was quite hilarious. But I also think that response implied that because he's not the one, financially responsible for the upkeep of the home at that moment, he really had no right to be suspicious, or he had no right to question his wife's source of income. And I feel that, that didn't really sit right with me. Even some of the comments, that I saw there was just like, well, guy, I mean, your wife is the one taking care of the home. So what are you talking about? Yes, just, leave. As she has asked you, to leave, just carry your kaya and go. And, I didn't think that was, when I read it, I didn't think that was good enough, because I want to assume that the man might actually have his reasons, for being suspicious. And because I feel that all things being equal, the man would probably know, how much his wife's business generates. He said it's a small business. I don't know what that entails, but I am thinking that he would probably know, how much she makes from that business, and then would know, the extent to which that can or could take care of the home, and also, afford extra luxury, which he mentioned, in his post. And I feel that could have precipitated the concerns he has about, how his wife was able to meet their needs and also afford, extra luxury, because he has an understanding, at least a first-hand knowledge of what his wife makes from her business. So, and he might think, oh, I don't think that, my wife is making money just from this source. And while, yes, I agree that it's not okay for him to just assume that she's cheating, but then it's also possible that maybe he's seen, some cues here and there. Maybe there are things that we all have our suspicions sometimes, about, about certain things. And so that might have precipitated, him asking questions. And then the answer he got was that he should leave. And I don't think that is right, because if the tables were turned and it's a woman that comes to say that, look, because of this, because of that, I have suspicions that, about my husband, and I think it might be cheating, and maybe she even, confronts him with that, and then the next thing she gets is, okay, pack your loads then and get out of my house. I don't think that the response will be the same. I don't think people will back the woman for confronting the husband with her suspicions. So, and I just feel that what is good for the goose should be good for the gander, and vice versa. So the fact that the man is not the one taking care of the home at that particular point in time does not mean that he could not, ask his wife about, his suspicions. That's what I think. And yeah, he might not have gone about it, the right way, but for the wife to now ask him to leave, and people actually supporting that,
it didn't sit right with me.
Hello, welcome on board, Oga Shiju. Great to record with you. Thank you for joining us. I really wish I hadn't heard the wife's side of the story before saying this, because hearing that side of the story has actually shifted my position. But let me see if I can just say this, assuming I'd not heard that side of the story, and let's just stick with what the man has shared with us. So going by this side of the story, that's the man, I would say that the man has the right to ask questions if he feels like his wife is taking on more than he believes her income should be able to afford. Just like I would expect a woman that sees her husband spending lao to question the source of his income, particularly if she knows what he does and she does not see how he could afford what he's doing. So I think there's no problem with asking questions, but what I see is perhaps the tone with which he asked. Who knows? We were not there, so we don't know. That's me assuming that was not heard from the woman, by the way. So one thing, just speaking from his side of the story, you can't call a place your house when you're not the one paying rent, because obviously if you're paying rent, that means that it's not your house anyway. But the people that would say my house when they are paying rent are the people that are actually paying the rent. So that already begins to give the man's ego problems away, because you can't call it your house when you are not the landlord and you're not the one paying rent. So that's where the guy matter gets K-leg. That's where I will come from, assuming all I saw was the guy's side of the story only. So I have a question for Gashiju. Is there a delicate way to bring up this matter of, hey, auntie, you are spending more than I think you're earning? Is it possible, as in, is there a way that it can be said that is actually will not come out as offensive? As in, what do you think about that? Then don't you think the wife should have shared what she was doing extra, assuming she was doing something extra with the man? As in, should it be the man? Should she wait for the man to come and ask her before she shares the additional source? And like you rightly said, if it's an additional source of income, why has she not proposed it to the man? Again, I'm saying this assuming that we hadn't heard the wife's side of the story. And I'd just like to say that I do agree with the point about the man getting a job, because one thing I don't like is for someone to be unemployed and to also have a bad attitude, because obviously, and that kind of men saying, oh no, I can't do this job because I'm a graduate. I remember when we were having a couples retreat in church, and one lady asked a question that I felt was a much needed and valid question. She was like, why is it that women, even with their jobs, they are also doing some side hustle, doing things here and there, selling hair, selling doing makeup on the side. But when a man loses his job, he will now go like, oh, I can't do this job, I can't do that job because it doesn't befit my status. So I think that's one thing that men generally need to look at and see, because for me, I think that's why it seems like women tend to be more successful, in quotes, although some people will say, oh, there's bottom power. But let's discount that. If a woman is out of a job and she's not lazy, she most likely will do other things. But you find out that most men that lose their jobs are looking for white collar jobs. They are not, so they're like, the woman should just understand. And yeah, there's a place of understanding, but I think it's easier for the woman to bear if the man is actually showing that he's trying to get something. So that was one point that I did agree when we were talking about it before we heard the woman's side of the story.
Thank you so much, Mr. Shiju. Thank you, Ayotini. Thank you, Adenike. And before you answer, Mr. Shiju, I need to say something and then probably add to what Adenike asked as well. So I'm just gonna start from the second sort of question that Adenike asked, which was that why didn't the wife, if it was something extra, why didn't the wife like tell her husband, or let him know that, oh, this was something extra that might have been coming in. I remember initially when I read it, my first instinct was, okay, before the before the man became out of work, like he said, how was he handling the finance of the house? Did he used to look into the way he settled his bills, or he just did it, he just collected his salary and just settled the bills, and then, he moved on, or what his wife knew exactly how much he was making, and the bills that he settled, the cost of the bills and all of that. If it was the latter, then I would agree with the fact that, if it was something extra, she should have looked him in. And even if it wasn't anything extra, if it was just a business, our husband should be aware that, I make this amount of money, the house bill is X amount of money, I make Y amount of money. When I take X out of Y, this is how much we have left and all of that. So our husband should be aware. However, if it's the former, in the sense that before he became out of work, he just used to settle the bills. She doesn't know how much he makes, and she just knows that bills get settled, or he didn't make it a point of duty to sort of, or a part of, he didn't say anything, letting her know how much he makes, and how the house bills are settled. If that is how their house or their home was being run prior to him being out of job, then she might not have had the initiative or whatever to, think, he should know how she's running the house now that he's out of job, because there's a precedent. There's something that's been laid down. There's a way they used to do it before. And that's just by the way. And I remember that I was also thinking that, okay, fine, now that he doesn't have any job again, how did he think the house bill was going to be settled? How did he think? What plans were on ground for the sustainability of the family when he became out of job? Did he sit down with his wife and say, oh, this is your small business, this is how much I think your business is making, this is how much our house bills are. I don't think you make that much money. I don't think you make that much money to be able to settle what our expenses in this house. Or for the past 2 years, he just kept quiet and just thought that things were just going on. And then after 2 years, he just suddenly thought, oh my God, the money this woman makes is little. She can't possibly be able to take up the house expenses. Then she must be cheating. That's absolutely as far as I don't know. I'm just thinking, is that not weird? That's quite weird. That's really, really weird. Like, what did he think that that family was going to be eating sand? After he wasn't working anymore. Also, and then there's this thing that Ayotunde mentioned about the fact that the man absolutely has a right to question her. I absolutely agree. He does have every reason to question her. Nobody, I don't think there's any problem with that. But the thing is, what kind of questions is he asking? He can ask about her finances, and I also know that Mr. Shidro also mentioned it, that he should ask his wife about what's up with your finances. I do agree with that. He can ask her, this is your small business. What's your turnover? How much are you, how much do you make? He himself, does he know how much, how much do you spend, monthly as a family? How much is coming into the family? He can ask questions about these things. If he feels like over the last 2 years, some things have been happening that he doesn't understand how they're able to sustain themselves. But we are not questioning. From the write-up that I did, he's not really. His problem is the fact that she must have been cheating, because as far as it's concerned, the amount of money she's making cannot sustain the family. And he also made a point that she's also making human hair and fixing nails. Like, shouldn't she look good? Like, is that a problem? or for me, I just felt like he just came across like, he had ego problems, but that's just what obviously, I mean, I can agree that when you listen to his side, there are several sides of the fence that you can stay on, and, we can all decide where we want to stay on. Now, so, like, Adenike has asked Ogashiju that how, pardon, his name is Ogashiju Mr. Shiju Mr. Shiju, all join. So is there really a way to I don't know, why do we have to tiptoe around it? Is there a way the question, is there a way a question about finances can be asked from the woman? And if so, how can that be done before we then move on to the second part of the whole story? Because the wife did actually at least a bit, she let us into what was happening really in the house, at least from our own point of view. So, Ogashiju.
Thank you for having me on the Gist Arena. I'm so glad to be a part of this wonderful gist. Like Cynthia said earlier, I love beautiful conversations. I love interesting conversations. I want to be a part of it. So, Adenike, you posed a question which Cynthia has also corroborated, asking if there is a way that the man would possibly have asked the wife about her finances and she wouldn't have found it offensive or made it look like she was cheating or something. So I think this thing boils down to how the home was before that time that the man began to feel like this. So at the time that the man did not have any way he was supporting the family and the wife was carrying all the bills for a whole 2 years. 2 years. So during this period, the man obviously should have at least found a way to support with the upkeep of the house. So if the man could not find it to support with the upkeep of the house at this point, he had a responsibility. Yes, of course. He could question the wife. He could have all reasons to feel like something is going on. Yes, everybody has a reason to feel like that. Of course, it's because he loves the wife that he feels that jealous. I quite agree with that. But at the point where he begins to suspect the wife of infidelity, it's all right for him to just summon the wife with love, try and cajole her, appreciate her for all the things that she has been doing for the past 2 years or more. Let her know how beautiful she is, how much he adores her. You know how women love to be praised, how women love to be adored, how women love to be cherished. Let him make the woman feel as special as she can be. And then at that point, he will kind of chip in a bit where we'll say, as much as I appreciate how much you spend on the family, I'm beginning to think that this is too much of a burden on you. How are you able to cope with this? How are you able to afford this? So it depends on the way the guy has presented this matter. But I believe that if he presents it in a manner where he shows that he's so much in love with this woman, he so much appreciates this woman, and then he also shows that he's doing something to ensure that this condition does not last for a longer period. Sure, even if the woman had been cheating on him, the woman will not go as far as confronting him with a sack letter. Abba, the woman self get blood now. So I really believe that the man could have done better in this. So if the woman had any source of additional income, obviously she should have shared with the man, which she didn't. And I still want to believe that this boils down to how the home was before the incident happened.
I like when you said sack letter. His wife issued him with sack letter. We would now see whether he deserved the sack letter that she issued him or not. But before them, I do absolutely agree with you that manner of approach, matters a lot. Words can definitely be used to convey, you can think of conveying an information in your mind, and the words, the way you put your words together, the way your tone, your intonation, the way they deliver those words will definitely contribute to how the intended information is ultimately passed across. Now, like I said earlier on, that this gist was in two phases. The man came with his own, and I don't know if you know the way all these online gists come. When one party has come and presented a case in a particular way, having everyone, sort of sway towards the side, or just pass their comment and all of that. The second side of the coin comes running, and then that's exactly what happened in this particular situation. So, the wife also reached out, or I don't know, maybe it was the person who the husband sent a message to that reached out to the wife, or maybe the wife reached out to her. Something just, last, we have the wife's we have the wife's point of view now. Again, I'm going to read so that we can have what she said in our own words, and I don't, in process of summarizing, over summarize, and we don't get the information needed. Here goes the lady. For your information, I did not send him out. I saw the rubbish post. How can I single-handedly take care of 2 kids? I guess 2 kids and his aged mom living here for 4 years, and himself. I buy down to salt. For 4 years, he has not bothered to look for anything. Did you ask him how many times he turned down jobs? Because it doesn't befit him, as he claims. Even job of 80,000 naira, I believe. So a skincare business that has over 13 major distributors can't fend for a well-budgeted family. He said I was cheating, as he doesn't believe my business can do all I do, and therefore he must see my account statement. Did he tell you he eats me when he is broke? Why do you believe I chased him away? And this was what the wife said. And, for me, this absolutely changes, everything from, the revelation that, as opposed to what he said, he told us he was out of job for 2 years. His wife is saying he was out of job for 4 years. He's been out of job since it's still ongoing for 4 years. And now we also have a new revelation that even his mom also stays with them. So it's not only, the family, not only the couple and their 2 kids. There's another adult around. Also, she has said that he also beat her. So he hit her, whenever he's broke and angry, and which is, going by history now, is every time, since he doesn't have a particular job. We now also know that he has rejected jobs that he has gotten, or that has, someone has helped him get, because it's beneath him. And we're talking about 80,000, at least 80,000 naira, what, or 80,000 naira, wage. He's rejecting that because he feels like it doesn't befit his status. I wonder what status that is. And now we also know that the small business that he claimed his wife has is a skincare business that has at least 13 major distributors. So, let's say, I don't think that even qualifies to be a small business. That would be something huge. Especially because, by his own account, he said she paid for the house rent, 350. She was able to renew the rent of the house, which cost 350,000 naira, as well as pay the children's school fees, and at least she'll be sustaining the house at least 2 years if you go by his own tale, which you now know is 4 years. Now, how does this second tale change for you? Does it change your initial opinion? Does it give you, I'm sure it gives now clarity on, what might be happening in their home or their situation. What do you think about this new information that we now have? What advice would you give the man, since he was the one that came out to us initially to even inform us of what was happening in his house? according to you now, do you think he deserves that sack letter that he, according to Ogashijwade, do you think he deserves that sack letter? Let me hear what you think.
Okay, so first of all, the blogger was the one that reached out to her, to the wife, so that he will, I don't know if it's a he or a she, so that we'll get both sides of the story. So this uncle, see why I said I switch side. Any problem, it's any problem. The uncle get problem. He didn't talk about her skincare business. It is not a small business. And I think that's unfair. I think the man hitting her, he has even cancelled the whole matter. It has changed the tone of everything, honestly. And then again, it's 4 years, not 2 years, and his mom is living with them. Uncle, be fearing God. Small. Then he's sponging off the lady, and then he still has the right to come and be asking jam questions. You have problem, uncle. Auntie's tired is tired. If you want to move out, we're going. And from her side of the story, she said she did not chase him out of the house. So I don't like people that used to behave like this. I don't like it. As in, if you are going to, if you want to leave the house, go. Which one is the one that you are carrying a matter to go and be talking? Somebody has fed you and taken care of your mother and yourself for 4 years. You are now coming to come and be telling stories that touch. For me, I believe that there's the he said, she said, and the real thing that happened. And most often than not, we'll never hear, because I'll still like to know how they went from that conversation to him leaving the house. So his own is too much. Then my question to the woman is that if he truly has been hitting her, has she filed an official report? Because in this case, we are talking of domestic violence, and it is actually a crime in Lagos State and in some other states of Nigeria. So if that claim is true, I hope that they're going to take it as a criminal offense. It is not a family matter. Once it is a crime and it needs to be reported. And I think even all over the country, we have the Violence Against Persons Act, which I think has been domiciled in a lot of states in Nigeria. So domestic violence is not something that you just gloss over, because it has debilitating effects on both the victim and the people that have to witness the abuse. So it's all, her side of the story totally changes the whole thing. But all the same, I think somehow I don't believe we've got the full truth, because there are still some gaps. There's probably a middle one, but if we are going by the wife's side of the story, we should be talking about her filing a report against him for at least physical abuse as well as financial abuse. And then I will still reiterate my question that I asked, but I think Ogashiju missed, which is that why is it that when men lose jobs, they will now come and be talking about how one job is beneath them? Imagine him saying that an 80K job is beneath him, so he would rather not contribute anything than take a job that, for as long as it's a legal job, because she didn't tell us that part. But I'm assuming that it's something that does not require him to break the law. It's not against his faith or anything of the sort. It just feels like he's bigger than that. And in my opinion, I think that's just what I was talking about. And I find out that most times it's men that have gone to school that behave like that. And I find it annoying, because I think there's dignity in labor. Whatever it is you can do, that you will be able to look proudly at your children and say, oh, I shine shoes for a living. There's dignity in labor. You don't have to be an engineer or a doctor before you get the dignity. But if you're a shoe shiner and you are the best around, there's dignity in that. So I hope the men will begin to understand that. In fact, this lady I was telling the story, she was talking about that even if you're going to drive an Uber, do it. Okay, it kind of takes me to the story that we had read on Twitter, I think, about this Uber driver that picked a woman and her son, and the son was pressing his phone, And the woman told the boy that if he doesn't face his books, he will end up like that Uber driver. And the Uber driver stopped on, said after dropping them off that he stopped and he cried for a while. I know many people were like, why did you cry? There's dignity in labor. So I hope men will begin to understand that there's dignity in labor. The fact that you're driving an Uber, the fact that you shine shoes, the fact that you're a gate man, those jobs that we look down on, does not make you less of a human, because you are earning a living. You're not begging. You're getting paid for providing services. And I hope that we'll have more men who do not mind taking on blue-collar jobs when they lose their white-collar jobs, just in order to ensure that their families are catered for financially. So those are my thoughts, really.
I beg, he deserves the sack letter. Oh, yes. I mean, alright, brother ain't gone. The brother is sick. He must be sick. All right, like when I read the wife's side of the story and I saw that it beats her, that scattered the table, completely. It shattered the table. That's strike one for me. Under no circumstance would I even be comfortable that a man, raises his hand on his wife. So, for what? He beats her when he's broke. So you turn your frustration on the woman. What for? What's the reason behind that? That is a no. So that's strike one. Then two, the man is rejecting jobs. Really? I mean, brah, are you normal? In Mr. Macaroni's voice. Like, if I see the man, I would like to ask him, if he is normal at all for rejecting jobs. So how comfortable is he allowing, his wife to shoulder all of that responsibility? And if the tables were turned, I would ask the woman the same thing, especially, if it's a woman who is working and then lost a job and now she's now rejecting offers and everything like that, allowing the man to shoulder, all that responsibility when she could, get something doing. I will ask her the same thing. Again, I know that there are dynamics, in different homes as regards that. So that's not the point that I'm trying to make. The point is, if you had something to do, that contributes to the upkeep of the family, and now you lost your job, and you're now getting offers that can at least help relieve the burden on your spouse, and you now sit down somewhere and you're saying, no, this job is beneath me, I can't, is something wrong with you? No. So that's strike two, for me. I am thinking now that he would probably also be the kind of man that will sit at home, doing nothing, and will still expect the woman, to also shoulder the other responsibilities at home, the other physical responsibilities as regards house chores, and every other thing. So he's not helping at all. No financial help, no physical help, no, no kind of help. No, wrong now. That's not acceptable as far as I'm concerned. So, yes, he deserves. In fact, I can come and help her. Help him pack his load or something like that. But I just, the wife's side of the story just changes. It changes my perspective about the whole thing. I feel that the man was he didn't try at all, and then he's asking for bank statement after the woman has told him that my job, well, I want to believe she must have explained to him that skincare business has 13 major distributors, which already shows that business is doing very well, at least considerably well. And then you're still saying, I don't believe you, I need bank statement. Bank statements call. Why is he not asking for a NIN, a PIN, and a TIN and all other stuff? I beg, you should go and park to one side. But having said that,
I want to quickly, react to something that I picked from Mr. Shiju's last response. And for instance, he mentioned like when he was talking about how the man can approach the woman, about a business, like, oh, how are you making more money and everything like that. And then, he mentioned something like, because this woman for, her whole 2 years, she's been carrying the financial burden of the home and everything like that. And for me, I'm just wondering, because I feel like, sometimes when we talk about gender parity, it seems to me like most times we move back and forth. We don't pick a struggle, kind of. And here's what I mean. So if the man was working, we know that he would probably be the one to shoulder, the financial responsibility at home, probably even, all the financial responsibility, or the, the larger chunk, of that responsibility. And now that he is out of job, his wife steps up, which is what, I think should naturally happen, because it's two coming together as one to run a home, to run a family. So if one is lacking in an area because of unforeseen circumstances, and there's really nothing the person can do at that particular moment, the other person will step up. So now this man, maybe when he was working for years now, he's been the one shouldering the responsibility, the financial responsibility at home. But now that has now become the woman's responsibility, so to speak. But then we are not looking at it as if she's doing something, out of the ordinary. And I'm wondering why. Why does it feel like she's now doing something out of the ordinary? But then when the man was doing it, it was more like, we see it as it's normal. That's what a man should do. Okay. But then it's not normal for a woman to, shoulder the responsibilities at home, the financial responsibilities, if she has to step up if the husband does not have what he is doing, right at that moment. So why does it feel like, or why do we see it like that? That's, we feel like, oh, she's now doing something out of the ordinary. I think for me, I just wonder about it. So probably somebody can, help me with that. What's extraordinary in what she's, but the man has been doing it all the while. So if it's now a turn because of the turn of events, why does it seem like she's doing something, out of the ordinary? Although again, I would still, say that I would expect the man to also relieve her of other burdens at home. Not that he will still be sitting down, reading newspaper in the sitting room, expect the woman to go out there, bring in money, and then she's still the one running around, doing all of that, doing runs here and there. If that's the case, then I don't really agree with such arrangement. But if the man is genuinely, doing every other thing that he needs to do to help the woman, at home to relieve our other burdens, why then does it now look like she's doing something extraordinary if she's shouldering the financial responsibility at home? Maybe somebody can help me with that. Thank you.
Yeah. Finally, I think we are all coming to agree that the man really messed up. Like, the man deserves a big sack letter. In fact, I want to borrow Mr. Macaroni's voice to tell the man, you are not doing well. Yes, because he's not doing well at all. Well, let me quickly address the issue as for the role that gender parity plays. So Ayotunde was asking that why should it be a big deal that the woman is taking up so much responsibility when, if the man had not been, in this case, jobless, he would have been shouldering similar responsibilities and it would still have been no issue. Well, why it is a big deal in most cases when it is the other way around is that most men are not supportive of their wives. Most men do not support with anything at all, especially when they are unable to contribute financially. So a lot of men think that money does it all. Like money does it all. So when they cannot contribute financially, they do not even know how else to contribute. So in a lot of cases, this is what happens when the men cannot contribute financially. They do not do anything. So imagine that the woman had to go to work, and then she comes back late. While she had to pick up the children from school, she goes to probably a shop or something, and then comes back at night to get food prepared and something. And then the man had been home all day. In over 90% of cases, the man would not do anything. He would still wait for that woman to come back home, to tidy up things, to clean the house, and then cook food for him to eat. Yes, I'm not saying that it is wrong for a woman to cook, or that it is not supposed to be part of the things that she should do. But what makes it wrong either for the man to cook, and then the woman comes and the man is like, wow, my wife, I've prepared something nice for tonight. Yes, it may not be an everyday thing, but it should be seen to at least be trying to do something. It should be trying to make the wife happy, just like it should be the other way. So, but on the other side, if it was, in most cases when women do not even have jobs to support their husbands financially, you will see that they do a lot of things that even money cannot do, right? So I don't want to be like I'm kind of staying on the side of the women too much on this discussion, but of course, that's how it is in our society of today. Okay, without wasting time, let me quickly talk about the issue of men not wanting to take up jobs because they feel like it is below their standard. Yes, a lot of educated men do not want to take up blue-collar jobs. But I must be very sincere with you, whether it is blue collar, black collar, yellow collar, whatever color you want to call it, a good job is a good job. A job where you feel safe when you call it a job where you do not have to run from the law enforcement agencies, a job where you can always call a job that you can always call your own. So when you do any kind of job, regardless of what it is, whether you're a taxi driver, whether you are a cleaner, but whatever you do, put your best at what you do. So what makes you feel either right or wrong about the job? It is yourself, not the job. So there's nothing wrong with the job. There's only something wrong with the person who feels like the job is worthless. So it is the person who does not appreciate or who does not know what being of value is. They tend to tie their value to what job they do rather than tying the value to what they believe in about themselves or what they actually are or who they actually are in this case. So a lot of men do this, and I think it's very wrong. I know somebody who works at the Tinkan Island port. The person works as, how do I describe this? This person works with one of the clearing agents. I can tell you that this lady, from clearing of cars and the likes, makes about 30,000 naira on a daily basis, right? So imagine what white collar job will give you that kind of value where you can get as much as 30,000 naira on a daily basis. So if you calculate 30,000 naira for 30 months and for 30 days in one single month, imagine how much that will be, and tell me which white collar job of today will offer you that kind of amount as a starting salary. So whether it is white or black or blue, whatever the color of the collar, a good job is a good job. Let men begin to take pride in themselves, and I hope that the conversation will be ongoing and men will continue to value themselves, or will begin to value themselves rather than believing that their self-esteem should be tied to where they work.
In fact, Mr. Shijuade has mirrored what I wanted to say regarding the reason why it's a big deal when a woman is the one that is the financial provider for the home, and why we don't, why it's not a big deal, so to say, when it's the man that is doing it, as that has even become like the norm. It's expected that a man should do that. For me, the reason is most often than not, this is the situation where the man is the sole financial provider for the home. It happens that there is a sort of untold agreement. It can even be a told agreement that the woman should manage the home front, raise the kids, and basically render all support that is non-financial in nature and that has to do with the family. The man, on the other hand, will probably go out to work and come back. Maybe go out in the morning, comes back in the evening, and like Mr. Shijuade said, will not provide, in most cases, will not even provide any help support to his wife in terms of raising the family, not just doing things around the house. So all of this falls on the woman, and she would do it, without complaining. And even if she complains, there's nothing that can be done. She's not the one that is making the money anyway. So she takes her L in peace. Now, but when the tables are turned and for some reason the husband loses his job, and then the woman has to step in to help, like in this particular situation, I think since we want to turn the table should turn properly. The man should as well come and start, supporting the family on the home front. So like taking care of, things that the house would need, taking care of the children. Since his home anyways, he's not working. So taking care of the children, making their meals, taking care of his mom and all of that stuff. If you probe further now, you realize that it's still this particular woman that is still, bringing all the finances needed for the running on the sustainability of the family. That will still come back and still come and do the same things that a woman who is not working will be doing. She's still doing it anyways, even with the fact that she's the one that is bringing in, the money that they're using to sustain themselves. And so that's why the equation is never balanced. It is just never balanced. If there is no task on the home front for the woman to do in terms of maybe taking care of the kids or the home, I don't see a reason why a woman should, stay at home and not work, except of course herself and the husband have agreed that, she should not work and is going to cater for them and all that. But that's an entirely different story on its own. But the thing is that the scale is never equal. It's just never equal. By nature, women are nurturers, so that the responsibility of nurturing the family always falls on them. So that's why most often than not, on the male side of things, I think we always generally expect that where they can pull their strength, they can always bring in more money than maybe the woman brings in. That's about maybe the traditional sort of allocation of task, where he can contribute a lot, which is bringing finance. He should bring it in, and when he is not bringing finance and then the woman is doing so, it's really normal that he should pick up that home front responsibility. But where he's not doing it, that's where we're going to have problem, because there's no way the woman is going to feel there's going to be something wrong. And then, even with this particular situation we're referring to, it's not the woman that came out to come and, tell us about, what's going on in her home. So even if she's frustrated or whatever, she's taking her L in peace again, like most women will. It's the man that is not doing anything that is now coming to say that is now coming to question what the source of fund of his wife, questioning it, you're even beating. I mean, like you said, you all said, the fact that he's even beating her is a game changer. And I do agree with Adenike where she said that you should be thinking of reporting and then bringing up a case of domestic violence against him. I think she absolutely should, especially because it's very annoying that he's had the opportunity for to get jobs that will probably pay him, but that he's not willing to take them because he feels it's below par, and it's just not up to his standard or status, and all of that. Now let me quickly ask something. So in a situation where a woman has found herself being the primary breadwinner, and the home front responsibility is also weighing her down, how do you think she can safely communicate this to her husband? And maybe the guy is not working or hasn't found something doing at the time. How can she? Because naturally, no, I don't want to say naturally. Because, in most cases, men would not. Even Ogashijade also corroborated that the men will probably just sit down from morning till night and say, wait for the woman to come back, and they come and make meals and all of that. How can a woman communicate this to a partner that, sir, this never is not helping us? Because I remember that we spoke about manner of approach, the way the man sort of communicated what was unclear to him, how he communicated to his wife, which we agreed wasn't really that good. How can a woman communicate a displeasure regarding the fact that her husband is not helping her or anything? How do you think that can be done that wouldn't cause a problem for the family?
Okay, thanks for that question, Cynthia. Love it. I'm going to come to it. Well, I probably will talk about it as I'm talking about my response or reaction to Dr. Ayotunde's question about why it seems like we overhype the woman when she's the one that is bringing in the money and the man does not bring in anything. I totally agree with what Cynthia and Ogashijade have said on that matter. I would just like to add a bit more to it. Most often than not, apart from the fact that the man is not even doing anything to support her non-financially, then you also have cases where the lady is being gaslighted. In this particular case, someone is saying maybe she's cheating. She begins to go through even emotional torture. It's like she's being punished for earning more than the man. You have some cases where they'll say she's using his destiny. You have some case where they'll say that she has turned him to Beudani. Beudani means hold this cloth for me, husband, and that she's manipulating him spiritually. So, you're dealing with the pressure of building a business, running a home, and then you're also dealing, and then factor in the fact that the guy's mother is there again. It just changes all the dynamics, things that she would want to do. She's not even free to express herself most often than not, because you have the case where the mother-in-law is on her matter, and what are you doing to ensure that your husband gets a job? You have all of those things that you're doing. They'll go like, oh, the Bible says that he that finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor. That since he married her, there has been no favor in his life. So she becomes responsible for his irresponsibility as well. So and you don't have those kinds of cases when the tables are turned. If the woman is not working, of course she's supporting non-financially, but no one harasses the man that his wife is not working. He doesn't get all those extra pressures here and there. So that's why it seems like we are overhyping the woman, because she's dealing with a lot more than you can know. She's kind of made responsible for his irresponsibility. And in this particular case, we know that this guy is a problematic human being. So you can imagine that he's probably not doing anything to support her non-financially. In fact, he's dashing her blows instead. So obviously, most often than not, that's the case. Even in the cases where you hear of some men that took their wives abroad and then the woman started earning more, then they will tell you that she's no longer submissive, kiniko, kiniko. And all of those things always come up when it's like the woman earning more than the man. And, she's being punished for being successful. And the thing is becoming a bit too much. It weighs her down. Like Cynthia said, she has taken her L in peace. It's this man that has refused to take his own L in peace. He's still accusing her again of infidelity. She's just been gaslighted. She's dealing with all of those emotions. Doesn't mean that there are no women that become funny because they've started earning more. But most often than not, if you check in those cases, sometimes when the man was earning more, he was probably a terrible person to her. Not that I'm justifying what the woman in that case is doing anyway. Okay, so to answer Cynthia's question about how you deal with the fact that how a lady presents her case when she feels like she's not getting the kind of emotional support or non-financial support she needs from her husband in such a scenario where he's not providing finances. Of course, I think there's a way they both communicate with each other normally when they are in a good mood. Maybe they go out if they ever have such interactions. Of course, it's possible maybe when you're watching TV, you see a scenario like this and you're like, oh, darling, don't you think this guy could have been more supportive? Sometimes some men, I don't know how to speak ye in English. They are, they are very, very stubborn. It's hard to get through to them. So in some cases, of course, I'm a Christian. I'll say you pray about it. There's nothing you can't take to the Lord in prayer, and God will show you a way to pass it across in a way that is not offensive. If after all you've tried all of that, I like to use the steps that Jesus gave us in the Bible when he was saying that if your brother offends you, first of all, you talk to him, and if he doesn't listen to you, you go with some elders, people that he respects, for them to help you pass the message across in a way that is not too offensive. I'll give an example. When we just had our daughter, there was this thing of, oh, yeah, the mother, you should do more and all. And I didn't feel totally supported by my husband. Of course, he was doing his best, which I wanted to bring this point up and I forgot before. In some cases, the men even actually mean well, but men are not naturally trained to take care of the non-financial part of the home. So even the guy with the best intentions sometimes doesn't even know what to do. So back to my story. So I felt like he wasn't doing things the proper way, but I was just like, well, whatever. I took my L in peace. And so we went to visit a couple. I think we had just moved into a new house here. So we went to see our landlord and landlady with a baby to greet them. And the landlord, just of his own volition, I hadn't had any chat with him, nothing. Of course, I always pray about everything. And he just started telling us the story of when he had their first baby and they were out of the country and he was more or less alone and his wife had given birth via cesarean section, and he found out that he had to be the one doing all of the baby care and all of that he had to learn by force. He just kept going on, and then he started giving my husband his own fatherly advice on how to ensure that the work is not left only to the mother. And I was just in awe because I hadn't discussed anything with this man. And when we got home, I started laughing and saying, you see, the Holy Spirit has gone to reveal your matter to somebody else, something of the sort. I just kind of made light of it, and I realized that afterwards I started seeing more participation from him. So I'm not like I've said in the previous broadcast, I'm not a confrontational kind of person. I always believe that there's always a way that we can deal with issues without it getting ugly and everybody fighting. And for me, the easiest way I've found is to first of all take the matter to the Lord in prayer. God will show you what to do. and then you speak with him in the best time. So you have to make sure that he's in a good mood. It's not when people are fighting about no money that you now say, in fact, safe, you don't even do anything in this house. I don't think that would be well received. I think if you find a lighter time to say, oh, I want us to talk, please, can we have a conversation? And then, you already start off and you're like, I don't mean this in any wrong way. If there's a good way and a bad way to take it, that this thing means, I mean the good one. And I would just like to let you know that many times I feel like I'm carrying more than I can handle in this house, and I'm sure you won't want me to break down, because if I break down, then you know that the entire engine, we've been running on one engine, and if that engine breaks down, you know how things will be. And so I will appreciate a bit more support from you and even your mom. Then she can even recommend that, is it possible for them for maybe her sister or his cousin or someone, another person to come in, so that one can help her, because most often than not, these men, they don't know, even if they have good intentions, they don't know how to do the housework anyway. So she's like, oh, can we bring in maybe your cousin? Because, there are some cases where the same men who are not doing anything, the lady gets in help, the man now begins to even harass the help. So bring in his family member, maybe his younger family member. Let it be that he's molesting his family if he decides to go that route. And so you recommend that to him and say, oh, I think I'm going to need help. So he now says, oh no, why do you want to go and bring somebody when I'm in this house? There's a wise way to handle this thing. And if it's a problematic person, bring in the help anyway. If you know that he's the kind of person that has plenty wahala, make sure that it's not a live-in help. Bring someone that will come and go, and you probably would supervise the person, because in this case, she's a businesswoman, so she can, for me, I would think the major chores are basically watching after the children, cleaning the house, washing clothes, etc. And all of these things can be managed. They can be outsourced, such that by the time she comes home, in fact, if you like get people to cook soup and all for you, they deliver in your shop. And when you get home, you just come with your stew that you've brought from the office or from the shop, and you go and warm it. Somebody has made amala for you. You heat it up. And then you are, as in if you are buying human hair and all of that, you probably can afford to do that instead of getting back home, and then that's when you start cooking soup yourself. And you more or less, since he has decided to make himself redundant, you could make him redundant and you run your thing like he's not there. And because you're a good person, you can still give him food, because you've always done. I know a female minister that said that if you have that kind of husband, what you will do for him is, after you and your children have satisfied yourself outside, you've eaten well, you will make sure that in the house is beans, is gari that him and his mother are taking until they are tired. But I would say that at least be a kind person. Give them, sometimes add eba, sometimes add semo. So for me, that's what I would recommend for the woman that wants to talk it out and have an honest conversation with the man. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for providing answers to my question. And I'm really glad that I asked that question, because now it's brought, out some other issues. I do agree with everything, that you have all said, because I did mention earlier that it'd be so worrisome to even discover that the man is not providing any form of support, for the wife. So at the end of the day, the wife is the one that is solely responsible financially and, in every other way. And for me, I just think that this is the kind of conversation that we need to keep having, over and over, because Mr. Shiju said something about some men believing that it's all about money. So when they drop money, that's all it is. And so when the tables are turned and they're not bringing money, they don't, think that they should still do any other kind of thing at home or around, that would lend support to the woman. And I actually think that we need to, that mindset needs to change, because even in this day and age now, that the woman is bringing in money, in many cases now, to support the husband, the woman is still the one expected to do practically every other thing that goes into building her home. And I think that that is wrong. I think that both parties would need to come together and support, each other, so that the home runs seamlessly and one person is not overburdened. I really think that that is a very important thing we need to keep discussing until, we probably get it right. I also picked something from what Adenike, said about the kind of emotional trauma a woman who is even, who is solely responsible at home, that is financially now, the kind of emotional trauma she might go through, with some other things that might be happening around her, things like gaslighting, things like, um, blames, that she might get from different quarters. You know how we are now in this part of the world. And I remember that while we were discussing this, I also mentioned that I don't, really like the fact that I have an issue, with the fact that the woman sometimes, when she is the one bringing in money, or she has more money, she's expected to now even do extra, like bend over backwards, probably even lay flat, so that she can massage the man's ego, and then he doesn't feel insecure and every other thing like that, because she has more money. And I'm like, why? I mean, for me, if anybody has an over bloated ego because of their gender, they should be the one to go find how to figure out, their issues and find a way to resolve the issue, and not that they would put, that burden on the woman again. So the woman has to kind of like, do extra stuff, walk on eggshells, do all this kind of stuff, because she doesn't want the man to feel somehow when she's already bearing so much burden. I have an issue with that kind of mindset. I think it is wrong. And again, we just need to, keep talking about these things, and put some of these things to an head, because it's really not fair, sometimes on the woman. But then, of course, there are men who are pulling their weight, and kudos to great men and women out there. Okay, now to answer Cynthia's question, well, I will just, I think I would copy Adenike. I agree that the woman would need to approach it delicately and wisely, okay? And of course, prayer, yes, prayer, please. I mean, I am one of those who believe that God is concerned with even the most, insignificant thing, the things that we think, are so insignificant in our lives. God is concerned about them. God is concerned about us. So for me, there is nothing you cannot take to God in prayer. I talk to God about practically anything, everything. Like, I mean, every single thing about myself, things, anything about me that you can think of. If I just need to at least offload sometimes, yeah, I would just say, God, this thing, that thing. So yeah, I believe, in that. And I think that, a woman should, yeah, you ask for wisdom, even to approach such matters, so that it doesn't sound somehow, or it appears like probably you're trying to be funny. Okay, so she needs to approach it delicately. But then, that, that last aspect of, give him a bow, blah, blah, that I didn't get. And I was just laughing. Wow. All I would just say is, I just want to pray and encourage that, such men should also be reasonable. Okay. So, because if you have to talk to the man, and then he's being stubborn, he's not even reasoning with you, and, he's even turning it against you, making it, into such a big deal. It can be quite problematic, because what would what would the woman now do, if the man, refuses to lend the support that she's requesting. What we should do, I mean, I just think that, some of these barriers need to, they need to break down. They need to go. Some of these ancient beliefs and all of that, they just need to go, because I don't know what would a woman do in such situation, for instance, because if she decides to, okay, I'm going to take the drastic measure now because I have done everything, humanly possible, to do to make the situation, at least as easy as possible on the man, yet is not reasoning with me. If she decides to go drastic now, she's still the one that will, chop blame, okay, and all of that. So I just think that in that situation, let's just pray and hope that as she approaches it, delicately, the man will also be reasonable enough to understand, to see things from our point of view, and do the needful. Then lastly, I just also picked something from Adinika, saying that some men, even with the best intentions, sometimes they don't know what to do because they were not trained, that way. And that's a vital point. And so we'll still throw it back to parents. Please, this generation, let's teach our children, not just the female children. Let's teach our male children too, about these things, so that they become, the men that we really want them to be, and not the ones that we don't want them to be, something like that. So that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
So a lot of points have been made so far. Ayotunde, Adenike, AY, well done. Let me just add this. We have a problem of toxic masculinity. This boils down to the kind of upbringing that a lot of male children, most of which are now men, the kind of upbringing that they have. So I want to quickly give an instance of myself. There was a time I came fourth in class and I got this question. Talugbe first in class here said, it's a girl who came second is a girl. And the question is this. What was in class to bring Mama Gbe first at the second? Like, why should you be in a class and you allow the female gender to overtake you? So it's not even about how intelligent they are. The problem is they are female and they should not overtake you as a male. So this kind of mindset is what a lot of us have grown up to become. That's influenced the way we are today. So whether you've grown up with this mindset or not, it is important that regardless of the kind of mindset that you have grown up with, growth is a constant thing. Everybody needs to have a growth mindset. So if you now know that some of those ideas I grew up with are toxic ideas that do not conform with what should be normal, then you should consciously begin to unlearn those behaviors. So some of those things are things that I personally have unlearned, and I've learned what is ideal. Right? So I've been able to learn that the roles of men and women in the society are changing to what it should be. So before we had the society predefining some roles for what the men should do, what the female should do, but we now see women breaking the glass ceiling, reaching where men believes that was basically for them. We can see Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala recently appointed WTO president, which is the first time. We can see Kamala Harris being the first female vice president in the US. We have seen a lot of countries with their first female presidents. Those were roles originally thought that were, how do I put them, were specific for men. So women are breaking the glass ceiling, changing the narratives. So why should any man not now realize that the norm is that whoever is fixed to do something should do, and not with the predefined roles that the society as assigned to gender. So having said all of this, I want to appreciate the fact that women are doing a lot. I'm somebody who is so passionate about women. Yes, I love women a lot. I appreciate women for all that they do, and I have learned to cherish women for all the beautiful work that they do. So, Adenike, Cynthia, AY, I want to tell you that the beautiful work that you are doing, I really find it amazing. I cherish you, and you are doing awesomely well. If there's anything that needs to change in how things are presently in the society, I think number one should be how we train our children, how the kind of upbringing we give our children, the kind of mindset that we allow our male children especially imbibe while growing up. So everybody should learn that it is the role of everybody to take care of their homes. It's the role of everybody to know how to manage money. It's the role of everybody to do things that any other person can do. So when you are in the house, do not assign your girls to watch the plays and then leave the boy to watch football or play table tennis while that goes on. And we are going to have a better society for crying out loud. So I know that all of us are playing this role, are playing our own roles in making the society what it should be. And I want to appreciate you, because having women at the forefront of this kind of burning discussion is an amazing thing. Thank you so much for all that you do. I can't appreciate you enough. Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Ayotunde. Thank you, Adenike. Let's keep this conversation ongoing.
And with this, we're drawing to the close of today's episode. Thank you so much for listening to us thus far. We really do appreciate it. I definitely had a fun time gisting with my fellow gisters, Adenike and Ayotunde. And I want to give a special shout out to Mr. Shijiwade. In fact, the ginger with which you came, to gist with us today, I definitely felt, and I know that my other co-gisters would also say the same thing. I caught myself laughing at some of the comments and illustrations that you were making. Just shows that you're a very fun person. And it makes us really, really happy to know that we have wonderful men, wonderful guys like yourself that does, making this thing work, and we do appreciate it. We do appreciate you. You also appreciated us. We, on behalf of myself, Madenik and Ayotunde, we also appreciate you. We thank you for doing what you're doing. Thank you so much. Now to our listeners, we've spoken about, we touched on a number of issues on this episode: gender parity as it relates to gender role, manner of approach between couples, why we think it's a force when it's a woman that is providing in the home, just a lot of other things. Now, if you feel like we were supposed to have said something, or you don't agree with our point of view, please do leave us a comment. We would love to read from you. Look for, we are open to opposing views, and if you think that we did hit the nail on the head, please also leave us a comment, and we'd definitely love to read from you. In addition to that, please follow us on our Instagram account at Gist Arena with a double A. So the arena has double A. Follow us on Instagram, like our post, and also leave a comment there as well. Until next time, do have a wonderful one and stay safe. Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of Gist Arena. We hope you enjoyed the topic discussed. Please drop your comments and let us know what you think about it. We'll definitely love to hear from you. Until next time, bye!